July 14th, 2023. Pulling her out of her nest and onto the road.
Holy cow! Everything else was fine, huh? Chains working and doing fine, and then it snapped.
I'm such a dork. I bought this shipping container at auction and I thought, I'll just invent these wheels to pull it up this super gnarly four-wheel drive road to my gold mine. Well, if you saw last episode, I knocked it off its cribbing, I almost tipped it over, and that idea failed in like the first 12 inches. So let's take a look at what went wrong that time, see if we can fix it and do any better. Spoiler alert, we don't.
So just a quick recap on why this failed. The shipping container sat on this flat surface, and as soon as we put pressure on it this way, this axle failed. And that's because this is such a long tube member here, the leverage just put an incredible amount of force here. In addition, this is only rated for a couple thousand pounds. So we got to fix that. We'll go ahead and use the same shipping container connection piece, but we're going to replace everything from here down. Just like before, we're just going to start with two 3,500 pound axles, and I'll go ahead and sleeve those. But this time, the bearing is this large, what's called a turntable bearing. These guys are rated for about 5,000 pounds. They're going to sit directly on top. This will be what we do rotation with. Now, connecting that to the shipping container will be some square tube this is a 3/8 inch wall, but because the mounting plate down here is bigger, it actually gives me the opportunity to gusset it out in a few spots. And I plan to add more 3/8 inch gusseting all the way down. So it's almost like having double walled pipe. And I also changed the tires. So what this is it's a telehandler tire. It is on a 5 on 4.5 bolt pattern. So that will fit just fine on these axles. Each one of these tires is rated for 2,800 pounds. So each corner is gonna hold like 5,400 pounds between this bearing and these wheels, which is more than half of the container weight on a single corner. So if we get multiple corners in the air, we can support it all. So it looks like I gotta start getting fabbing. This was cribbed up before, and now we have to take it up a small piece at a time and then remove cribbing. That is my buddy Jim, and he's going ahead and making sure that our wheels are torqued. And let me just show you how this thing's really, you're able to give this thing a good tug and move the wheels. We got all the weight down on the rear, and you're able to steer, so that's working the way we want it.
Keep going. Yeah, I'm gonna go up higher now.
Yeah, keep going.
Get up to where we can get the 4x4 out. At least to one side.
All right, we're just doing a final safety check. Spot checking our air. The front tire looks a little low. We are down. We're gonna get ready to do this move. We've got our cheering section.
Nice job.
All right, we got a good ways down the road, but it's starting to rain. And so we're calling it for a day. We'll come back at it again. But no failures on the equipment, which was great. And we were dragging these freaking wheels certain points. And so there's some refinements I'm gonna do before the next time we schedule the next move day. But so far I'm gonna call it a victory.
All right. Even though we moved it up the road, we only moved it maybe a quarter mile, and that was the easy, smooth road. I got a couple things we got to take care of. So the first one, these are my guys. That's Rod and Jim, and they're working really hard to try to steer the back end of the shipping container. And Jim, he's 70 years old, and I mean, I appreciate he's out here, but I got to help him out. So one of the things I want to do is make the steering a little bit easier. Number two, this shipping container, if you look at it, like whenever the ground is uneven, it is so stiff that the wheel will lift off of the ground. And when that happens, you can see how it twists and turns, and then it gets stuck in the dirt. And that's also no good. So I got to do something to bind those guys together. So I think I'm going to go for a twofer solution on this one. The first thing I'm going to do is build just a tie rod to tie those two things together. But here's the cool part. If you look right here on the Unimog, I have an accessory hydraulic system. And I'm just going to go get a couple of cheap cylinders from the tractor store. I'm going to go ahead and rig them up to that tow bar, and I'm going to put on hydro steering. I think between all of those enhancements, we should be good to go for the next move, and let's get this thing up the mountain.
I bought this Heim joint kit from Rough Tough Specialties, and what I like about them is they have these very large cups to allow you a pretty decent degree of movement. It looks like they're designed for 1.5-inch pipe with 1/4 inch thick wall thickness for like using Dom, but I don't have any, and I think that's okay. I have two 8-foot sections of 1.5-inch, 1/4 inch wall, just square tube. That's what I'm going to use. And I have this little about 4-foot section of this square tube left over. This was actually one of the pry bars that I used for turning. I'm going to cut him into 10-inch lengths, put a 45 degree on, and weld those together. Then make sure I drill a hole for that Heim joint. I really love the small mountain community I'm a part of. I've been down here for the last 2 or 3 days fabbing and, continuing to make improvements. We've tried moving this thing a couple, 2-3 times. You've seen the mishaps where we broke a wheel, and now we're adding this hydro steering, and it's quite the art project. This morning it came down to finish up some fab work, and somebody had put this thing out onto the container. I love it. I love how everybody here, they're cheering, they're rooting, they want to see us be successful. And, well, thank you, community.
now that I have hydro steering in the rear and in the front, the question remains like, why do you have hydro steering in the front? And well, for a really tight corner or when I got to get maneuverable, it's helpful to have. But there's also a special feature with this, which is I put quick disconnects on the feed to the cylinder so that when we're normally driving, it's going to be freewheeling, and I will connect the cylinder rear to the cylinder front through these two quick disconnects, and that's going to act like a steering damper. So it's going to allow you to turn your front wheels and have it follow, but if it hits a big rock, it shouldn't immediately slam left. It'll dampen that down as you have to press the fluid from one side of the cylinder to the other. We'll see how well that works in practice, but that's why the hydro is there on the front. Okay, so I've placed an expansion tank or a reservoir on this hydraulic piston. The issue is that this piston cannot free flow if these are directly connected, because the volume on this side of where the piston head is different than the volume of fluid here. So as you compress it this way, more fluid wants to run to this side than it can handle, and it just locks up. This reservoir, this accumulator, allows that fluid to come in and relieve the pressure so that this is compressed. That should allow me to push this piston in, and that's what I'm going to test right now. So I'm just using this ratchet strap to compress this end, and now that reservoir is doing its job. It's allowing fluid to flow in, and I can get full axle rotation.
July 14th, 2023. Pulling her out of her nest and onto the road.
Holy cow! Everything else was fine, huh? Everything's working and doing fine, and then it snapped.